Welcome to the recorded webinar on time and effort tracking requirements in the Child and Adult Care Food Program, or CACFP. This training is designed to provide new and existing CACFP sponsors with detailed information on their responsibility to maintain time and effort records for employees whose wages are charged to the CACFP nonprofit food service account, in order to demonstrate compliance with federal regulation. The topics that will be covered in this training include the background on why time and effort tracking is required when using CACFP funds to pay for employee wages, what are allowable labor costs in the CACFP, the difference between operational and administrative labor, and how to document labor costs using RIDE's time and effort template. RIDE has a responsibility to monitor a sponsor's use of federal dollars, in this case CACFP reimbursement, to ensure that program funds are only spent on allowable costs for which the sponsor has received prior approval from RIDE as a part of the budgeting process. The USDA provides guidance on allowable costs in FNS Instruction 796-2, Rev 4. And this instruction includes guidance on allowable labor costs. We will go into more detail on what are allowable labor costs in the next slides. Each year during CACFP renewals, RIDE reviews submitted budgets for the upcoming fiscal year. The entries for operational and administrative labor inform RIDE of the number of positions and the estimated number of labor hours that the sponsor expects to charge to the CACFP account. RIDE reviews these entries to make sure the estimates are in line with the job duties, the size of the sponsor's program, and the meal services provided to participants. RIDE will also consider that the sponsor has at least one person assigned to administer the program. Each position listed in the budget whose salary will be in part or fully be funded by CACFP funds must have specific CACFP duties included in the job description, and the job description must be uploaded in the online renewal application. During a program review, if the sponsor has paid for labor with CACFP funds, RIDE will review the documentation to ensure that federal funds have been used appropriately. Failure to maintain the necessary documentation may result in a finding and/or disallowance. The documentation that sponsors must keep on file when using CACFP funds to pay for labor hours is described later in this presentation. When we talk about operational labor, we are referring to the labor costs associated with serving meals to eligible participants in the CACFP. Some examples of labor associated with serving meals are food preparation, including cooking meals, food procurement, specifically related to sponsors who self-prep any or all meals, including sourcing the lowest cost food or grocery supplier, and the physical purchasing of food from that supplier. If you utilize a food vendor or caterer to provide meals, ordering vended meals, serving meals including plating food for participants, and cleanup. Sponsors may have several non-food service personnel who perform operational labor for the CACFP, such as teachers who serve meals, or center directors who procure food or order meals. When RIDE reviews the sponsor's budget, we are looking for an estimated breakdown of how many hours a non-food service employee would spend performing CACFP operational duties on a month, compared with their total monthly hours. We would also need to see that the operational duties in the budget match those in their position's job description. Administrative labor costs in the CACFP include duties required to administer the program. Examples of administrative labor costs include planning, organizing, and managing the food service operation, CACFP record keeping, claim consolidation, review, and submission on a monthly basis, completing and providing CACFP training, activities related to the annual updating of enrollment forms and meal benefit applications, such as sending out and collecting forms, follow up with parents or guardians, and eligibility determinations. And for sponsoring organizations, monitoring is required for sponsors who operate 2 or more sites in the CACFP. And monitoring duties include preparing for a review, conducting reviews, writing review reports, providing technical assistance, and reviewing and following up on corrective action responses. Administrative labor in the CACFP falls under the administrative costs category. In total, the administrative costs charged to the CACFP cannot exceed 15% of either estimated or annual meal reimbursements. Sponsoring organizations who use CACFP funds for administrative labor must keep the 15% total in mind when preparing the annual budget, and must provide a policy procedure to RIDE that explains how they will enforce that 15% maximum of program funds for administrative costs. Sponsors must document labor costs paid for with CACFP funds according to federal guidelines. The minimum documentation required includes payroll records, time distribution reports, also known as time and effort reports, and time and attendance records. Each of these requirements will be discussed in the following slides. Sponsors must maintain payroll records for all employees whose salaries, including wage and benefits, are partially or fully paid for with CACFP funds. These employees' positions must be included in the yearly renewal budget, along with the estimated number of hours they will work monthly performing CACFP duties. On review, RIDE will compare employee positions listed in the yearly budget against employee salaries that were paid for with CACFP funds. Using CACFP funds to pay for an employee position not listed in the budget may result in a finding and/or repayment during a program review. In addition to payroll records, separate time and effort reports must be maintained for all labor costs charged to the CACFP for hourly or salaried employees for full-time, part-time, and per diem work. These reports must identify the total number of hours worked by the employee, not just the time worked performing CACFP duties. For example, if a part-time employee works 5 hours a week performing CACFP duties and works a total of 20 hours per week, the report must reflect both of those totals. The time and effort reports establish the portion of costs that may be charged to the institution's nonprofit food service account as program labor. To establish the portion of costs that may be claimed for reimbursement or charged to the institution's nonprofit food service account as program labor, a daily log or other time distribution method must be used. The report must be prepared in a timely manner and coincide with the employee's pay period. Time and attendance reports must include the start time, end time, and absences of employees whose labor is paid for with CACFP funds. Sponsors must use a daily log or other time distribution method to verify the labor charges to the CACFP account. For employees with a fixed start and end times, the time and attendance report must be prepared daily for all periods of absences beyond normal meal and break periods. For employees with variable start and end times, this time and attendance report must be prepared daily, Unless required by the institution, employees with established start and end times are not required to complete daily sign-in and sign-out sheets. At the discretion of RIDE, daily sign-in and sign-out sheets may be required for employees with variable start and end times, unless prohibited by a negotiation labor management agreement between the institution and its employees. The requirements for the time distribution reports are listed on this slide and the following slide. A. These reports must be completed by all employees, both full-time and part-time, and must account for the total activity for which each employee is compensated. B. The portion of the labor costs charged to the institution's nonprofit food service account must be allocated based on the hours worked for the program and non-program activities, and within the program for administrative and operating labor. C. A separate report for each employee is required. D. The report must reflect an after-the-fact determination of the actual activity for each employee. E. Budget estimates and time studies of any kind are not acceptable documentation. F. Time should be reported in 15 to 30-minute intervals, but no less than 15-minute intervals. G. For proprietary and nonprofit institutions, the reports must be prepared at least monthly and coincide with one or more pay periods. See 2 CFR 230 Appendix B AM2D for more information on nonprofit requirements. H. For public institutions, monthly time distribution reports are required for each employee that works on the program and non-program activities when the employee's compensation is charged as a direct cost. I. For employees who are 100% CACFP and have a fixed allocation between operating and administrative tasks, certifications completed at least semi-annually can be substituted for time distribution reports. Time and attendance reports are still required. 100% dedicated employees must still complete time and distribution reports if the allocation between operating and administrative tasks is not fixed. In all cases, time distribution reports and time and attendance must be completed by the employee and signed and certified as true and corrected by the employee and by a responsible supervisory official having first-hand knowledge of the activities performed by the employee during the period covered by the reports. If your organization does not currently have a system to document time and attendance or time and effort for CACFP labor, you may develop your own log or use RIDE's time and attendance and time and effort log template. This template meets all record-keeping requirements for documenting time and effort for federal programs. Sponsors can choose to record time and effort electronically and print the completed form for signatures, or may print blank copies of the template and complete the form by hand. Sponsors may modify the template to meet their needs, but any modifications must be sent to RIDE for review and approval prior to implementation. Time and attendance forms must be maintained even if you do not use RIDE's template. Time and attendance or time and effort log is shown on this slide. Each section that is highlighted with an asterisk indicates a required field. If your center maintains time and attendance documentation separately, you are not required to complete the time and attendance section of this form. However, those records should be available to reviewers during a program review. For each day of the month that an employee performs CACFP duties, record the number of hours that were CACFP operational. Example, cooking meals, serving meals, cleaning up, purchasing food, taking meal counts, etc., and the number of hours that were CACFP administrative. Record keeping, training, employees, monitoring sites, consolidating meal count sheets for the monthly claim, oversight of the program, etc. And in the last column, enter the total number of daily hours worked. If the typical day is 8 hours, you would enter 8 in this column. The template will calculate the monthly total hours for each column at the bottom of the Excel spreadsheet, cells highlighted in green. If you are using this template to record time in attendance, record the time in, time out, absent notation on the right-hand side of the template. At the end of the month, after the hours have been entered for time and effort, the completed sheet must be printed out and signed by both the employee and their supervisor or an authorized representative of the employer. This documentation must be maintained by the sponsor for a minimum of 3 years plus the current year and must be available to RIDE during a CACFP review. The document must be handed, signed or electronically signed. Typing the names of the employees and/or supervisor is not acceptable and could result in a finding during a review. The section under the signatures labeled Labor Cost Charge Calculator will calculate the total labor costs, operational and administrative, that can be charged to the CACFP. The following slides show examples of what this calculator will look like for hourly versus salaried employees. Keep in mind that administrative expenses paid for with CACFP funds are capped at 15% of the actual reimbursement earned during the budget year. This section does not need to be printed out and is for the sponsor to use for recording. If the options in this calculator do not meet all of your needs, you can make revisions and submit them to RIDE for approval, or contact your RIDE program specialist and discuss what adjustments you would like for the calculator. This slide is an example of what an hourly employee's monthly time and effort sheet may look like. This employee only performs CACFP operational duties, so the admin column is left blank. Note that the total hours on the bottom line of the time and effort columns, 46.5 CACFP operating hours and 184 total work hours for the month. In the labor cost charge calculator, hourly is selected for this employee, which prompts the hourly rate to be entered in the next cell, which for this employee is $18 an hour. Once this is entered, the total operational CACFP wages for this month will be calculated automatically, and the percent of their monthly wages attributed to the CACFP will appear in the green cell to the right. If the sponsor charges benefits to the CACFP, this would be the percentage that could be applied for this employee for this month. This slide is an example of what a salaried employee's monthly time and effort sheet may look like. This employee performs both CACFP operational and administrative duties, so both columns are filled out according to how the employee worked. Note the total hours at the bottom of the time and effort columns. In the labor cost charge calculator, salaried is selected for this employee, which prompts the monthly salary to be entered in the next cell, which for this employee is $3,500 a month. Once this is entered, the total operational and administrative CACFP wages for the month will be calculated automatically, and the percent of their monthly wages attributed to the CACFP will appear in the green cell to the right. If the sponsor charges benefits to the CACFP, this would be the percentage that could be applied for this employee for this month of each category. Thank you for joining us for today's training on time and effort tracking in the CACFP program. If you have any additional questions, do not hesitate to reach out to your RIDE program specialist. Thank you.